All right. Woo. Look. I got that wow. Who wants some hands up right now? We got that. Turn it up loud. I know you're wondering how. I got that wow. Here I go, coming. I can't ever stop. I'm a tour de force running. Get me to the top. I don't need an invitation. I'm about to start a celebration. Let me in.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, my friends.
I have to always be super careful when we come in because I'm doing the dance in the background, because I like that music.
It is really good music.
It is good music.
Yeah.
Well, hello, everyone. I wanted to welcome you. I am Amy Flick. I'm here with two of my very best friends, Kitty Hart and Stacey Bartles, and we are the hosts of 3 Cocktails In. So let's take a quick moment. What is everybody drinking? What do you got? What do you got tonight? Kitty, oh my God. We're going to have to send you somewhere.
I know.
That
is not a cocktail.
Huh.
It's a propel tail.
No.
Okay. I bet you can't do a shot of that. All right. What are you having tonight?
I have a white wine. I think it's a Sauvignon Blanc.
Excellent. Sounds delightful.
It's one of my faves.
I did a cocktail, one of our favorites. I have got Grey Goose vodka. I've got Palma.
Yeah.
And I've got Squirt. How's that?
Sounds
a good one.
Good. Disclaimer, we are recording this on a Saturday night, so it is perfectly acceptable that we are having this. So,
yes.
The purpose, the whole point is addicting conversations between friends who have been there, done that, and still want more. And today, I want to talk about the more part. So early, if you guys caught our first episode, we kind of talked about our friendship and how we've gotten here. But I really want to hit on this more because the word more to me implies that there was a standard somewhere. There was an expectation, there was a bar, and somehow we want more. What is the more? I know what more means for me. Do you guys have an idea? Do we want to start with more, what it is, or should we start with what the expectation was?
Let's start with what more is.
Okay. More what? More, what does more mean to you?
Well, okay, I'll start. And so when I floated the name of the podcast by Bill, not the name, when I floated the tagline. Addicting conversations between friends who've been there, done that, and still want more. He kind of raised an eyebrow, like still want more. And I think probably the impression to him was, this isn't good enough.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Or what's wrong? What's wrong with what? And I didn't get into it because I'm hoping he's going to listen to the podcast. So all of that will be, kind of
revealed in due time.
Yeah. But so for me, more is just, and this is going to continue to show up in these conversations, is that I feel like right now at this point in my life, I have an appetite for a continuation. And so that's more. It's like, it's an evolution. And the three of us have talked about this a lot. And Amy, you'll talk about the changes that you've made in the last 2 years. And we've debated these words of, well, is it starting over? No, it's not. It's not starting over. Is it reinvention? I mean, there are so many words that you could put to this.
Yeah.
So it can be a little complicated, but so I think more is the word that makes sense to me. And so as at 56, I have a career, I have hobbies, I've got wonderful friends, I've got all of these really good, great things, but I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
And
It's
I'm not
not
going to
close
leave it at that. It's going to,
it's not close to being over. Even career-wise, I don't think any of us are, we may make a change yet, but I don't think any of us are looking to be done career-wise and, retire and move to Florida. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
None of us are anywhere close to that.
All of the stereotypes, basically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For me, the more was the opposite or the difference between things are fine.
Mhm.
Fine.
Mhm.
My daughters know that in my mind, fine is a four-letter word. It is. I hate that when you ask somebody how you doing. Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. That's so. It's so blah. It doesn't say anything. It means, eh. At least that's how I think about it. So, Kitty, when you're talking about all the stuff you have and your life and whatever, I know for a lot of people out there, they're fine with
Mhm.
how things are. It's fine.
Mhm.
But you notice they say fine, they don't say things are great,
Yeah.
or oh my God, I'm so excited. It's things are fine. Some sort of level of contentment. And I know for myself, just like you,
Mhm.
I want more than fine.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so so it also comes back to kind of what I talked about before. What was the expectation? I mean, we've talked about this.
Mhm.
When we were younger, oh my God, let's go all the way back to when we were like middle school, 14, 16. I remember being 16 and my mom was only 20 years older than me. And I looked at her, I'm like, why are you dyeing your hair? I mean, you know, like I didn't say it, but I'm like, you're old. Why would you dye your hair? And I remember her kind of looking at me like, you're such an idiot. And, the conversation went on. But I had this preconceived notion that when you get to 55, 56, I mean, it used to be the goal was to retire at 55.
Mhm. Yeah.
My grandma went into the nursing home at 97. What am I doing with the next 40 years if
Mhm.
if I'm retiring at 55? What am I going to do? And I think that it's kind of different. And I saw somebody earlier this week in my job because I'm a realtor. I'd mentioned that before. And she had a little 5-year-old girl, and this 5-year-old girl was just sassy as all get out. And I was loving it because I have 3 daughters, and it just brought me back. And the woman asked me, how old my daughters were, and I said, "Oh, they're 29 and 27 and 24." And she's like, "You don't look like you're old enough to have a daughter that's almost 30." And I came back to this idea of, well, how am I supposed to look?
Mhm.
What's the expectation? Where does this
Yeah.
all stem from? What's
Yeah.
the deal? Yeah. And this premise of what it's supposed to be when you get here. I mean,
Mhm.
what was your expectation of what this age was going to be like? What did you see?
Um, I know that when we were in our 20s and we saw someone or interacted with someone in their 50s, I'm sure they seemed old, right? They seemed
Yeah.
old to us,
Yeah.
which is exactly now we're on that side of it. So when we interact with the 20 somethings, they think we're old.
Yeah.
We look
Yeah.
old to them. So it's
Yeah.
probably no different.
Yeah, probably not. I polled my 3 kids. I asked them a couple of different questions, and the first one was, am I old? That's all I asked, right? Well, my oldest daughter at 37 said absolutely not because I'm getting way too close. Way too close to my 50s, close enough to my 50s that no, that's not old. My youngest daughter, in her low 20s said you're semi old. I don't think you'll be old till you're 60. So evidently 60 is old, right?
Okay, we got a
And then of
couple.
course my
We
son
got
who
a
I
few
had to
years.
prod, to answer the question. He goes, "Yeah, I think you're probably pretty old." So that was, all around so I don't know. I don't have a good answer. Are we old or not? I think it's still a lot of what you do and how you feel. And, I'll be honest, what you look like. And here's an unpopular opinion I was going to bring up. I don't like gray hair on 50 and 60-year-old women. I mean, I don't know anybody. All of my friends color their hair, but I think I really think it locks in your age. Even if it's that pretty gray that everybody talks about, I just think, yeah, that to me is that's when you're old. When you end up with gray hair, that's old.
That is really interesting. So I think that young women, and by young, I mean 35-year-old women, 30-year-old women, even 40-year-old women that turn prematurely gray and they have that gorgeous hair, I think it's awesome. I think they look beautiful because there's no mistaking them for being old with gray hair.
Yeah.
As we age, me personally, I was a brunette. Kitty and I were both brunettes prior to COVID.
I still am. We can look right back here.
I don't have that much. This is all dye. So over COVID, couldn't go get my hair done. I decided to kind of let it go. And the stripe got bigger and bigger and bigger. I've been dyeing my hair since I was late 20s because I have had gray for that long. And I remember finally getting to go back to the hair lady and saying, do it. We're just going to do it. I want to go blonde. And she's like, really? Are you sure? I don't know if that's your coloring. I said, I don't want to dye my hair anymore. So take it light. And we did. And she's like, oh, I'm really surprised how that looks. Well, I'm blonde. Let me just tell you, it's just as much maintenance every month as it was when I was brunette.
Yep.
But I keep saying, well, it's going to fade into gray a little bit more. So I was afraid to go gray because at the time, my husband, gray also, but men look so dashing and debonair and I'll even say sexy when they're gray and everything else is working. I didn't want somebody thinking I was his mom.
Yeah. Here's the thing though, that I want to say about the young women who dye their hair gray, that beautiful gray. They don't look old because they don't have a freaking wrinkle on their face.
Right.
Okay. So they can do it and they can pull it off and it looks gorgeous on them.
Yeah.
That's the difference right there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Where were we?
We were talking about looking old and are we old and what was the expectation?
Why do we even have to have that conversation? I feel like now, again, at this, and it happened very abruptly after 50, that all of a sudden we find ourselves on this receiving end of this message. Oh yeah, you're old. Oh, I was talking to this person the other day, and this older person, and I said, well, like how old? Right? We've all had these conversations.
Oh yeah.
How old? And they say, oh, like 50.
Yeah.
And I feel like it just continues to come up more and more. It comes up at work. It comes up, with our kids. It comes up all over the place. And at first it was jarring. It was shocking because, as you just said, I feel like I'm in my mid 30s.
Yeah.
You
guys, something didn't go right the other morning, and I got an email or something before I jumped in the shower. And in the shower, I'm washing my hair. And I'm like, it's fine, Amy. You're young. You can rebound. And then I stop myself. I'm like, what the hell? I'm not young. Why did that?
You are.
Well, but that was just that funny. My inner thoughts are so different than what other people might say. But I actually had to stop myself and go, hun, love ya, good energy, but you technically are not young. So I don't know where that thought came from, but I'm like, oh, I can shake it off. I'm young. Well, I might have 40 years left. And if that's the scale, I'm young, but so again, people have different expectations of what it is. I know that when I was young, really young, moms that my mother hung out with that were at church, that were, for a while I lived in a really, Stacey and I talked about it, really rural community. Not a lot of moms worked. No moms looked like the three of us look. Mm-hmm. And when you became grandma, you really took on this different role. So I kind of had this expectation that, you get married, you have your kids, and you age into this settled,
Mhm.
fine point
Yeah.
of your life. And it doesn't help when what we see on TV is, I mean, look at those commercials. People
Mhm.
that are supposedly our age that need every single pharmaceutical known to man
Yeah.
to get out of bed.
Mhm.
Kitty, what's your take on your favorite show right now? The show that you love to hate?
Am I going to reveal this?
Yeah.
Do it.
So
Do it.
I'm watching The Golden Bachelor. And I'm I'm a little surprised that I'm watching it because I can't stand the Bachelor franchise. I can't. Primarily because I can't stand to watch people flirt, and
Awkwardly.
it's horrible. And especially these 20 somethings, and they get all liquored up, and it's embarrassing. But, so I decided we've got Hulu now, so I'm going to watch The Golden Bachelor. I just want to see because people are talking about it. And it has been equally cringe,
Oh,
if not more. And I think that one of the things that's been really disappointing about it is that they are touching on all of the stereotypes of seniors.
yeah.
All of the stereotypes, after an evening of wearing high heels, all the women are talking about, I can't wait to, take these heels off. They show one woman who fell asleep on the couch and missed the rose ceremony. Really? Do we have to do that?
Do we have to show it on TV?
yeah.
I mean,
And-
that's what
and
you do.
Right. And it's reality TV, so it's inflated a little bit.
Oh, a lot. Yeah.
A lot. And the whole time I'm sitting there watching it, just thinking, you know what, you women that are the contestants on this, you should be ashamed of yourself
Yeah.
for leaning into that, for,
Yeah.
living those stereotypes. Good
And
grief.
also help the sleeping sister out. Wake her up. She's on TV,
Right.
for God's sake. There's the sisterhood that we're talking about.
Yeah.
You
Well,
have
and
to help
I'm sure that was scripted.
You think, yeah.
It was absolutely scripted. But again, it's like, well, why do you have to depict seniors now going through the same process with those things? You know what? This could be an opportunity to completely flip that around, right? But it's disappointing. Just really, really disappointing.
So maybe the franchise should merge with Survivor and put some, 60 plus women out there and do a Survivor, or do, what was that? The Amazing Race.
Mhm.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be awesome?
Yeah.
Women who know their way around, who have traveled. We know how I can MacGyver just about anything that needs to be MacGyvered.
Yeah.
Sure.
I set tile with one of the other girls in the Broad Squad, and we didn't have spacers. Guess what we used? Q-tips. It was perfect. We can, we're creative thinkers here. So
Yeah.
we're not all just
And-
taking a nap.
And you know what? And that is, I think that's what makes me most frustrated about this topic and the conversations that I have with people. And, just when I feel like I'm on the receiving end of, oh, well, you're old. It's like you're being put out to pasture. And, there are cultures that raise up their senior citizens. We're not one of them.
No.
Have never, well, maybe we were at some point, but we've lost that completely. And so, okay, so if we apply this to the business world, it's especially disappointing when you hit your 50s and all of a sudden you get let go from your job. You may not another one.
Yeah.
And then also just generally in the workplace, you can hit that place where the 20s, the 30s, the 40 somethings, they're looking at you like, you don't know You don't know anything. This is technology. We've got this. But what they're dismissing is all of these years of experience that we have had. And why does that not bring the value that it should?
Yeah. People get so damn excited because somebody knows the newest technology. That's awesome. It really is awesome. Technology has gone far. But do you know how to do some of the stuff that we know how to do?
Yeah.
People skills, tight situations, dealing with, all the stuff that we've figured out that you can't know right when you start. So there is
No.
value on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Right.
And one is not better than the other.
No. Yes, please, listeners, please hear that what we're saying, we are not dissing the 20 somethings or the 30s or the 40s. We're saying, why are we getting put out to pasture when we hit 50 and people aren't recognizing the value and of the experiences that we've had of all of these years? I should find the statistic on this, but I know that the most innovative companies, the most successful companies, bring together a wide range, and they have people from their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. And when you bring all of those age groups together, you can create something amazing. So you've got this, it's just like little kids with their ultimate creativity. Right. So when you're younger, you bring that. And then so maybe this influx of all of these amazing ideas and brainstorming. And then you've got the expertise to come in and say, okay, great idea. Now, here's how we can make that come to life. And those two come together beautifully. But sometimes that gets forgotten. That's forgotten.
Yeah. I will say I'm thankful that I am in I'm still very much an individual in my job. It's a huge company, nationally known. But I'm responsible for my neighborhood. And what's really interesting for me is I often have to call people who've been doing it longer than me. And I just found out on Tuesday, I was in a group with 6 other realtors. 5 of the other realtors are between my kids' ages, between 24 and 29. And they're the people I'm going to ask how to do things. Most of it's technology or kind of asking, how certain things work. But I had a young trainee with me today. And by young, I shouldn't say young. I had a new trainee with me today. And he was joking with me a little bit because I write everything down. I have a notebook that I write stuff down. And he's like, "Oh, your archive. Ha ha ha." Well, then a client came in and I did my thing. And afterwards he's like, "Oh my God, you totally nailed that. You just were so dialed in and you could see it was clicking and she's going to remember you." And I'm like, yeah, so maybe I don't know exactly the fastest way to find that on the computer. I want to know, and and I ask people so I know. But I have this value to add that you don't often get your first 6 months at a position. Stacey, you've had a number of interns and new employees and team members.
From early 20 interns, my team at the moment is late 20s to 40. Yeah, early 40. So we have this wide variety of experience, and I thought the young people, would be more helpful with technology. Honestly, I did. I was kind of excited to get, younger people thinking, oh, well, we're going to find, the best way to do this and all about whatever. And I find that we're keeping up just as well, just as much as they are, I feel, at least between our group. And I think most people, our age, it's not like we just, sit there and let, because your companies more than likely have differing, communication sites and the different ways, they're, adding in new technology all the time. So you have to learn it. So we're all learning it at the same time. It's not like, they really have a bigger advantage than I think we do, at our age.
Yeah. Well, and willingness to learn.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and that's different person to person.
Yes,
You
probably.
know,
Yeah.
it would be very easy for us at this age to say, I'm out, man. It hurts my brain. I don't want to think about it. I don't need to know how to do that. There's no reason for it. I'm just fine. I'm just fine. There's that stupid word again. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah.
But for me, I want more. I want to know how to do it.
Yeah.
My kids did not like it when I jumped on Snapchat. They're like, "Oh
Right.
my God." I'm like, "I want to know how it works."
Yeah.
And
Because it's the precursor to something else,
Yep.
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
At some point, we're going to touch on the online dating world and how that is different when you're in your 50s versus how it is when you're in your 30s. I saw a little Instagram thing where this woman's like, "Oh, online dating in your 30s." And I wanted to say, "Oh, sister, those all look like they're going to win an Academy Award. Let me show you what's popping up on my screen," sort of thing. So, age is what's the word? I
Number.
don't want to say relative. Is that the
Yeah.
right? I don't know. I don't know if that's quite. I think it's a willingness and a desire to want more than where you're currently at.
Mhm.
And it's not just work. I will touch on that later, but
Mhm.
I made huge changes. And because I could have been content, I could have been fine, but looking at how old my lifelines were, was fine going to be okay for the next 20 years?
Mhm.
20 years is a long time. 20 years isn't a very long time. So are you going to be happy?
Yeah.
If all you have is 5 years, let's put it this way. My mom got diagnosed with ovarian cancer. She was 53. She died at 61. 8 years. When she was in the hospital, in hospice, she still had 183 days of vacation she had never taken. If you've only got 8 years, are you happy with where you're at? Do you want more? What if you have more than 8 years?
Mhm.
What's the more?
Yeah. Yep. And the more is going to be something different for everybody. I think the important thing is to note it, think about it, envision it, and then figure out how to make it happen. And it doesn't have to be these big, massive, doesn't have to be a move somewhere, a divorce, a different job. It doesn't have to be those big things.
No.
But do you think about, am I really living the life that I want to live? If I go back to one of your first questions, Amy, when you said, what was your expectation of this age?
Uh-huh.
I don't know, other than, how I answered that question. When I was 20 something, somebody 50 seemed old.
Right.
But I do know that I can sit here today, and I say this to people very frequently. I love this stage of life.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't go back for anything, because
Oh, absolutely. I think it's better. I think, and for a lot of reasons, I think, for most of us, I think we have more confidence now, than we probably did when we were super young.
which comes from our
Certainly
experiences.
due
Right?
to our experiences.
Mhm.
In some cases, I think people get to this age, have a lot more time, freedom, because you're not, child rearing anymore and busy that way. Some of us have more money, certainly helps to do things that you want to do.
Mhm.
I just not finding a lot of drawbacks,
Mhm.
honestly.
Yeah. I mean, if you're healthy, right? That's a big thing. And I I think about that every day, and I, and I knock on wood as I think about all of those things that are in a really good place. And I'm like, everything is great right now. I'm always afraid to actually utter those words. I've, occasionally wanted to say to Bill, our life is really good, isn't it? And then I'm, I don't want to jinx it, but it's,
Yeah.
you start having health issues, and then it's a little bit of a different story. But yeah,
Yeah. And again, some of those things that we're talking about do rely on having a really good support system to make some changes. To even if you are thinking of big changes, you have to have a support system
yeah,
of some sort. You have to have some sort of money or have access to some a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think to even get started, you have to know your worth. You have to know that you're worthy, that you deserve to be happy, that it's okay to want more, and you're allowed. We're allowed to still have dreams, to want
Sure.
big things, especially if you've been a mom for a long time. You've put many women, even if they're working successful women, have put their dreams on the back burner because every last ounce of energy is spent keeping everything running, juggling all the time. You shouldn't feel guilty. We should not feel guilty about getting to a point where, like, you know what? I want a job that makes me happy. I want to try something different. I've done that. I've sold furniture. I had my own entrepreneur type job. I was a personal cook for somebody, for a family for 14 years, and I love those people dearly. But towards the end, I'm like, I love them, but I need to use my brain. Cooking it was a routine, and it became this little bit of a challenge to myself. How many things can I be making at the same time and cutting them all at once and putting them all in the different dishes? I was trying the last couple years to make it more mentally challenging for myself. That's just me. I'm not saying,
yeah,
please, if you're out there, I'm not belittling what you're doing. I'm talking about how I felt at that time about those things. And then, as I said, I knew I wasn't happy in my relationship. I didn't have a full-time job. I did not have my own bank account. I didn't have life insurance. I, at the time, was driving a 12-year-old car. You want to knock on wood? I'm still driving that car. It's 15 years old. I love that car. It, all crossing everything I have. But I had to make a plan, and I had to set it out there. And I remember talking to Kitty the very first time I said the words out loud. I want a divorce. And you whipped your head around and you're like, what? What did you just say? I mean, we're out on one of our COVID walks, and all those things, that was a big change that I wanted, but it didn't happen the next day. I had been thinking about it prior to saying it out loud. I formulated this little plan in my head and started checking the boxes off. How am I going to make this happen? And what do I need to do? What can I do today to get me towards that goal that gets me just a little bit closer? Mel Robbins, she's got a fantastic podcast. We all listen to her. I just love what she says. And, what can you do today to get you that closer, to do one step, one little thing? What is it? You want a different job? Maybe it's just a Google search. How can I get paid to travel? I've searched that. I've done a Google search on that. You got to you got to know your worth. You got to be okay with it. And then, you got to kind of make a plan.
yeah,
You got to have people around you.
yeah,
Yeah. I think everybody is, if there was a couple of pieces of advice, everyone is better than they think they are and more courageous, when they have to be. So to make a change, you just have to decide what you want and, have courage to,
Yeah.
and
And
figure out how to get there.
those are two great universal truths. And I'm going to add a third. The conversation in your head about the situation, the scenario you're practicing in your head is always way worse than what the reality is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
I don't know. We could go on and on and on. And as we've talked about, we're going to touch on all sorts of different topics that you can pull threads out of here. But one of the things we like to do as we're talking about making plans, wanting more, we want to offer a little encouragement on a very minuscule scale. We're talking no-brainers. We like to throw out 3 shots. We're going to give you 3 shots to try something new. So who wants to go first? Kitty went first last time. So Stacey, you go
I'll
first.
go first.
Okay.
Yep, I'll go first. So, kind of the thread that I was just talking about, have courage to do something new. And I'm going to relate it to our podcast. We haven't really talked much about how we talked about how we've talked about doing something for years and didn't know what to do. Settling on a podcast, and I think a little more than 3 months ago, we had our, first brainstorming session.
When we truly were 3 cocktails in, by the way.
I think we were more than 3 cocktails in.
Well, I know for sure one of us was. One might be
one of
drinking
us.
water right now.
Yes, probably.
I'm still sobering up.
Right. Yeah. Something like that. But doing this, I think, is harder than I expected. Way harder than I expected. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
It's not just start recording and that's it. We've learned a lot. It's taken longer than we thought, and I just think that's for everybody. So that's something. Do something new and crazy. Don't wait forever, to start doing it. Just do it. See
so
how
this week, do something new
do something new
that you've been thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Kitty, what about you?
Oh, okay. So I have realized that we have way too much stuff in our house. And I'm going to just isolate it to my closet. So I am adopting the one thing in, 2 things out methodology that I used to scoff at. Bill's dad did this for a while, and he was like diligent about it. So every time we would give him like a new shirt for Christmas or whatever, he'd have to go find 2 in his closet to donate. And I feel kind of bad because I'm sure that I rolled my eyes at that, but it's so smart. It's so smart. So now because I like to have new clothes with the seasons, I don't turn over my entire closet, but it is helpful to, when I bring one thing in, I look in my closet, I pick 2 things that I haven't worn for a while and probably aren't going to, and I start making the pile. And when the pile is so high, then I take it, I donate it.
Really good.
I recommend.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have the easiest one of a shot to try this week, and I am going to just bear with me for a moment.
Oh
boy,
it might be a real shot.
It is a real shot. It is a real shot. So this is my plug, and you can tell how little there is left. But this is Pama
and your
liqueur. Pama and my Pama.
Yep.
This is a 3 cocktails in favorite. It is a pomegranate liqueur. It's made with natural pomegranate juice, premium vodka, and a touch of tequila. You only need a ½ ounce to add it to one of your favorite drinks. And let me just say, it pairs really nicely with vodka and tequila because there's a little bit in here, but it's a little bit sweet. You can use it in place of like a simple syrup in a cocktail. Like I said, I've got vodka, I've got Pama, So I've got 1.5 ounces of vodka. I've got a 1/2 ounce of Pama, and I've got this little itty bitty squirt. And it is just, if I had a lime, I would squeeze a little wedge of lime in there. And this is just one of my favorite things, especially as we get to fall, because it just is one of those really easy, fun little things.
Cool.
So try some Pama. If you're going to be at the store, you got to pick something up. It is from the liquor store. It's not at a grocery store unless you're in Iowa and you have grocery stores that have liquor.
We have liquors in all our grocery store.
Yeah, we don't have that
shop.
Yeah. So
Good tips.
with that in mind, peeps, it's time. Thank you so much for joining us. Please, if you enjoyed today, make sure you share this podcast with your friends. Let them know they're these 3 little cocktailed up women talking about what life is like, what expectations are. And also let us know what you're trying, if you've tried something new, or let us know what it is, what more means to you. That would be huge. If in the comments you could drop a comment, what does more mean for you?
Love that.
How about that?
Love that.
Perfect.
Until next time, what do we say?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
See you next week.
Bye.
Goodbye.
All right. Woo. Look. I got that wow. Who wants some hands up right now? We got that. Turn it up loud. I know you're wondering how. I got that wow. Here I go, coming. I can't ever stop. I'm a tour de force running. Get me to the top. I don't need an invitation. I'm about to start a celebration. Let me in. Brought a good time plus some friends. Turn it up loud past 10. Turning up the crowd when I hit 'em.